welcome. Today we're going to be speaking with the amazing marketer, Therese Tarleton, and she's going to be sharing some tips and tricks on how to market without money. So I'm really excited to talk to Therese. She's got an upcoming book called Swap Marketing Without Money. Welcome, Therese.
Hi, Maureen. Lovely to be here.
So, firstly, could you share with the viewers today maybe something quirky or interesting about you so they can get to know you better?
Sure. I was the Bega Cheese mum on a few TV commercials. I was also the McDonald's mum for a while. It was something I did as a little bit of fun when I had small children. And so I would go to these castings and I got pigeonholed as the mum. And I was very upset one day when I went it was like a, yogurt, and you had to lick the back of the spoon. And of course they didn't want the mum to do that. They wanted the sexy, leggy, young woman. And so I immediately knew that I had left my young pigeonhole and moved into the mum pigeonhole. So.
Oh, that is a classic. And are you still doing any?
No, I don't do any anymore.
Yeah, sounds like a bit of fun. Please tell us a little bit about where the idea for the book came from.
Sure. So I started out in marketing in the 90s, a very long time ago, and I worked in corporate for a while, and then I started my own company, and it was actually a manufacturing company. So I created Jeep baby strollers, and then went on to create United Colors of Benetton strollers and Sesame Street high chairs and things like that. And so when I was in my own company, being a manufacturer, not a lot of money. And so I started doing partnerships with bigger companies like Huggies Nappies to actually, extend my brand, to find a new audience and to actually, talk to my target customers in that time. And so over that time period, I did that for quite a few years before I exited the business, and then went into corporates and helped them create partnerships with smaller brands and complementary brands so they could actually grow their audiences and have really good storytelling propositions. So the book came about because I guess I'd had the small business owner experience, and then I've had the very large corporate experience. And so I know both sides of what brands need in order to be able to partner effectively. So I decided it was time that all the small brands learned how to actually do marketing without money.
Beautiful. And the term partnership gets bandied around quite a lot. So can you tell us a little bit about what a good marketing partnership is all about?
Absolutely. So within partnerships, they obviously talk about and collaboration. So the term partnership and collaboration is kind of interchangeable. But when you talk about collaborations and partnerships, you can have an internal between, HR and IT, or marketing and IT. And I guess within a marketing construct, there's obviously lots of people who talk about influencer marketing. So when you actually work with another brand who is an influencer on Instagram, and how you actually partner with them to create an activity. What business to business partnerships and collaborations are is when you use everything in your toolkit to actually create a campaign for a mutual customer to create something they couldn't have got from the brands individually. And so the customer gets a win. The two brands, working together also get a win because they actually get to grow their business. Now, whether that objective is to grow an Instagram following, or whether it's about growing an email list, it might be about credibility. So, for example, when I was in strollers, and so I wanted the credibility of Huggies to actually say, that I was a brand that could be trusted in that marketplace. That's what happens with lots of banks and consultants and HR consultants and things. They actually want the credibility of another brand with their brand to elevate their presence in the market.
Okay, beautiful. So that's a good example. So just say there's some small business people watching today. Can you give me an example of how it would work so that you could market to the same customer being two different small business people?
Sure. So I at the moment work at CSR. CSR is a building materials company. And when I say smaller brands, so I've done collaborations with builders who actually are on the tools and actually are showing my product in the way it should be installed. So that might be a builder with two guys on the job. And so we create content together that he can use to say that he actually is doing work for CSR. And then I use and I take that and I take it into my my database, so out to my social following as well. Within CSR, we actually do things like Tile Cloud. So obviously, if you are a homeowner and you are interested in renovating or building, then I do plasterboard and bricks and different types of infrastructure type building products. And obviously Tile Cloud is tiles that you would have in your kitchen or your bathroom. And so we are not competing at all. We have the same target customer, which is somebody who's renovating. And so that allows us to create content together and actually create promotions together that actually helps the customer in the end. So for example of that, we're collaborating on a piece of content, which is the 5 hidden things in a bathroom that you need to know. And that is around insulation. It's around the, plasterboard so you don't get the mold and mildew. It's around underfloor heating. It's around placement of PowerPoints. So it's things that this piece of content that then the customer gets to learn and enjoy from that actually has our 2 brands mentioned in it, and then we both use that piece of content out to our individual audiences.
Oh, I love that. So really you could, it's almost like half the work.
Absolutely.
Not, repeatedly having to, create more and more.
For sure. And I also see I have a great friend, Lara Scalari, who is an artist. So she makes beautiful abstract paintings. And so she has done collaborations with, local businesses in her area, a local sculptor where they both they had a theme and they created similar, like a theme of artworks. Hers were painting, then the sculptures, and actually did the exhibition together with both of their databases. She's also done a deal with designer rugs. So then her artworks, her art gets put onto rugs. And so again, she can actually have her art to a database that actually wants to buy a piece for their wall, but she can also market it commercially. So it actually could be a very large format rug that is I think it's in Canberra Airport now. So it is about kind of finding what you're great at and then who else has your audience that you want to get into and creating something together.
Yeah, great. Now, I want to play a bit of devil's advocate, if I may.
Sure.
So just say we do a great. So let's keep it the same theme. There might be some art, a rug, some other beautiful items, and we decide to say run a campaign on Facebook, like some ads or whatever with our content. How would you suggest that people pay for it or divide? How do you, when you're joining together, sometimes it can get tricky. You will say, well, I really paid for the ads and you're getting more benefit than me. Like, how do you work all those intricacies?
Great question. So the real answer is actually where it's not a bartering system. It can't be a bartering system. The best partnerships work when you come together and you're looking at from a customer point of view. So So like that example with the, the art and the carpet and and so you've actually gone, okay, I want to get my art out to a commercial database, which I do not have access to. So what are all the things that I could do to actually put my brand in the best possible way? And what is the other brand doing as well? And so then it is just about how can you both work together to actually use the assets to give the customer the best experience. And then you will see that, within that deliverable. So a deliverable is when both of you come together and you decide to collaborate together. And you would both kind of set an objective, like, oh, I want to get a bigger social following. That might be person A, and person B might say, I want to get a bigger database. That's important to me. And so then it's like, okay, well, how can I help you deliver a bigger social following? So I will do posts for you to push an audience to your social following. And then the other partner being, I want to grow a database. So it's like, okay, well, what if I created something and actually put it out to my database, push them to your website to get a white paper, case study, template, kit that you can do your own art. Like, so what incentive or piece of collateral could you create for the other party so they would be able to capture that email address? So I guess in short, like what you're saying, so when you're like, hey, well, I've got 1,000 more followers than you and I've got 2,000 more, people on my EDM than you, so I want you to do 4 more posts and 3 more posts, you definitely talk about that up front and kind of say, hey, here's what I'm willing to do. But the best ones are when the momentum starts and you're like, oh, I can see an opportunity to do more. I'm actually going to do a LinkedIn Live, or I'm actually going to do something else because I can see this is really working. And it is. And the more that you do, the more it works for your brand. And obviously the other party gets the benefit as well.
Yeah. And how do you find good partners? Because back in the old days, when I was business coaching for 17 years, and people would say, oh, business coaches should partner with accountants, and then try and get them to send something of value of yours through their list, and it was so it was orchestrated and pushed, and I always felt uncomfortable going down that route. So how do you find really good partners?
Yeah, great question. So the best partners are the ones that you naturally love, you naturally use, and you just gravitate towards. So if you're, a plumber and you always recommend that electrician, that's a really easy organic partnership because you already do it and you already have a system in place. The other ones where you're like, if I'm an accountant and a strategist or a HR or, what ones would I do? Is I would say, look at the questions that you get on social. When people come to you and they ask kind of a wider question that you would be able to answer. So they might say to the accountant, how would I get my business ready for sale? Or how would I launch into a new market or a new country? And so that is around, that's a good question. So I'm going to do something with a consultant that might specialize in international law or international licensing arrangements or something like that. So what are your customers asking you for that is outside your core proposition? And so then you can actually create some, collateral together as a test to see how that works. And they're the best ones. And also in terms of your pitch, I'm very big on the pitch. So when you actually approach a partner and you go, most of the pitches that I get are, hello, I want something.
Yeah.
Thank you, bye-bye. And I'm like, what? That's not a very good pitch. But when you're actually pitching and you say, hi, I'm an accountant, and every single, week I get inquiries about how to actually structure a partnership or do a collaboration or how to expand into an overseas market. And I know that you're, that's your field. You're really good at that. So I had an idea, which was maybe we could collaborate together on a piece of content that would help both of our customers and we could do it together.
Right. So it sounds like very much building a relationship.
Yeah, 100%. And as I said, when people reach out, it is a relationship. If you just reach out to me cold and say, hey, can I have a whole heap of free stuff? I'm like, who are you? Well, I don't even know you. What are you asking me for? So it definitely is that situation where the best partnerships are the ones that you've kind of warmed up already. So it might just be following them on social or LinkedIn, having, commenting, having some in conversations, being able to share something with them, say, hey, I saw that post the other day that you were asking a question, and I just thought I'd reach out and say, we've actually got this white paper, or we've actually got a free session that we offer to do a discovery on what you need to know. So the best ones are where they already kind of know that you're around and they have seen you and they've seen your behavior, and then actually being able to reach out and say, hey, I've had an idea. Our mutual customers are asking for this, and I think it'd be, really great if we could do it together.
Yeah. So you've done the groundwork. You've followed on socials. You feel like the brands are aligned, have the same values, etc. And then you decide to do something to do together. So how do you actually deliver on the partnership, and what's important around that?
Great question. So most people are really structured around getting the deal. I really want to get the deal. And then they start a bit of bartering. I'll give you 2 emails if you give me 4 social posts, and you do the dance a little bit on what you're going to each give. But that is just the start. And as I said, if you go into it with a sense of, of gratitude, but also just of generosity, then those partnerships just keep snowballing. And for example, I did a partnership with a company, a small company called Soul Home, and Soul Home builds holiday locations, a bit Airbnb. So they build homes, but that are holiday destinations. Yeah. And so we collaborated on a deal, and I gave her some building products in exchange for her creating content. Now, when her builder was on site, she was saying, why are we doing this? Why would we build a wall in that way? And the builder was educating her. And so she was like, I didn't know that. And she would go on social and say, did you know? And she would explain to her audience what was being used and why it was being used. Now, that was not a deliverable that we had agreed on at all, but by her being inquisitive and actually creating that content and sharing it with her audience. And then, of course, we thought that was fantastic. And so we shared it as well. And we put some advertising money towards it. And so that was her just seeing an opportunity of creating engaging content beyond what was negotiated. And so then you can actually create, more assets. And the thing is, like, if you create more goodwill and more assets, your partner is going to, love you, use them, and talk about you. Most partnerships, we all talk and definitely kind of say, hey, have you worked with this person before? What's been your experience? And so when you're actually working with a brilliant partner, I have sung Simone's praises for the last couple of years about that collaboration that we did. And then there's now lots and lots of other brands that have actually, want to work with her. So that momentum of just being inquisitive and generous, all of a sudden has catapulted her into another level.
Yeah. And what else is coming across for me? It sounds like dipping your toe in. And so it's not like this huge long-term partner that you've got for life, but you date a little bit. So you might run a little campaign or do a little bit of content or do something. Is that how it works?
Absolutely. So, you can do, American Express did a report and they found that, businesses who collaborate are more profitable. And the reason for that is obviously you're growing your audience and you're not using money, you're actually using your assets to actually grow. But the perfect number of collaborations per year is 5 or more. And when I say that, you're exactly right, Maureen. One collaboration could be, hey, let's actually share some content. Or so with the block, I do the block, High Pages do the block, and we actually write some articles together, and we just make sure that every time I do an article, I just make sure that I say, hey, if you need a tradie, go on High Pages. And so it's a very natural, organic, we just help each other out all the time. And so that's, that's an always on partnership, but it's every few months we kind of just mention each other. You might have another one where it's actually about, a branded product. So if you have, I've done some work for Glasshouse Candles, the most amazing candle brand. So if you were an artist, for example, and you wanted to approach a candle company and say, hey, I've got a great idea. Why don't we actually collaborate and create a limited edition candle that has my artwork on it, and we actually put it out to the marketplace. Yeah. That would be another type of collaboration. You could do another in terms of if you have a location. So if you have a beautiful homeware shop or dress shop, and so actually saying, hey, I'm not open at night. Why don't we actually do a styling session where a stylist could use the location after hours to actually do a session to her, high value customers. They try on the clothes and, maybe you might get quite a few sales out of it as well. So I guess in terms of what you've got to offer is definitely your product. So what product that you do, and whether that's a physical product or whether that's a service like an accountant. And you definitely have your location. So whether that's an office, it might be a boardroom that you could actually have a community, small business women group come in and actually use that office, that boardroom one night and have great brainstorming sessions, and you're an accounting company. And so it's just natural that they might have a chat to you about accounting services. So it's really important you kind of, know all the assets that you're sitting on so you can actually kind of reach out and do them. And as you say, you can just do small ones, see what works, see what doesn't work. But in essence, most of them work if you're, realistic and kind of going, let's just do something. It's not, so partnerships are not free. You absolutely might need to, let them have your boardroom, or you might need to create a piece of content that you write or create the visual to post on Instagram. So they're not free. You might have incidental costs associated with creating those assets, but you're not physically exchanging money like you would with an advertising proposition.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is there's the different layers. There's, they're doing the marketing content for each other, with each other. There might be also, creating a product together, or using a location and bringing other people's market into that location. So this all sounds great. What I've also heard is that the good idea is to build to having 5 or more a year. How do you then, so we've talked about me going out and seeking partners. How do I stand out as a good potential partner to other people?
Great question. So I always talk about, having your taxi light on. And I mean that in a literal sense, in terms of if you had a page on your website where you were like, here's my partnership page. So these are the brands that I've worked with. Here's the media that I've maybe worked with. Here's a podcast that I've been on. And you actually show where you have worked with another brand to both help each other. And then you actually have an email address where it's, partnerships@theresetarleton.com. So having these signs that you're interested is, you know, the easiest way for people to actually see what you're doing. And then when you do these partnerships, actually promote them. So use them on LinkedIn or whatever is your preferred channel. If you're like a business to customer or business to business. So actually promote them. Say, hey, it was so great to be on Maureen Pound show today. I really loved it. These are great things that we did together. You know, any other opportunities, I'd be really open to that. And so you're flagging all the time that you're receptive to offers, you're receptive to the conversations that can occur and doing things together.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's something that builds. So the more you do it, the more you put it out there that you're doing it, the more people will notice.
Absolutely. And I think it does start to snowball when people actually go, oh, okay, I know that person's been on a podcast. Oh, I've actually seen them, in some media. Oh, I've seen them at an event where they've actually been speaking on stage. And so they're like, okay, well, maybe I'll approach them to actually do something together where maybe we could have a night where we're educating people and we're both in the same room and we both invite our audiences. Or, hey, I've got a product, so, hey, I might approach Therese because I like the way that she wears a jacket. And so I might, talk to her about actually doing a session on, business style and how to, rock your own style or something like that. So it's really about kind of finding the people and the brands that really match your values and match your brand position and have your similar target audience, and being able to come up with, complementary areas where you can both help each other.
Yeah. And what I'm loving as well is this idea of trust, throughout it, rather than it, because it's not an exchange of money, but it's exchange of energy, ideas, time, etc. And what also I've loved that you said that it sounds like, Therese, you suck it and see, don't you? And you might find some good partners and others you go, oh, we won't work with them again.
No, exactly. And I think that, but even though that might not have been, I think it's really important to go out with the objective. So if you're like, well, my objective was to actually increase my social following, and you know what, that didn't do that. But actually off the back of that, I got asked to be a guest on 3 podcasts. So to be, I guess, a little bit gracious, sometimes it actually doesn't get you exactly what you want, but it still opens the door to other possibilities with other partners that have, seen what you've been able to achieve. And that sparks an idea of their head, in their mind, about how you guys could collaborate together. So I think for me, I just think that business is way more fun when you play with friends. And so to actually go out there and have these, great kind of conversations that might lead to something, or they might lead to nothing. Or they actually just might be conversations where you're like, hey, this is what I do, this is what I'd love to do. And they might say, hey, I'm not right, but I know 3 people that you should talk to and I'll intro you. And so great. I didn't do a collab with them, but they've passed me on to 3 other people that they think I'd be great with. Perfect.
Yeah. And what I'm loving about what you're saying as well is it's not a perfect world. It's more fun playing with friends. You get out there and find some friends, and goodness will come along the way.
For sure. I mean, I think there's a gratitude in business as well. I mean, we all exist to, of course, we need profit. Of course, we need kind of money coming in the door. But, there are a lot of other objectives for a business in terms of positioning and branding and growth and, credibility. And so if you are, going into this with, this kind of spirit of generosity that you can actually offer and help other people, then I think that spirit of generosity comes back to you as well.
Yeah, well said. And so tell us about when your amazing book with all these tips and strategies, when's that coming out and how can people get a copy?
Fantastic. So I have a book coming out in January. It is called Swap: Marketing Without Money. And it is a book for small brands to understand the value that they're sitting on and how to find the right partnerships. It goes through a really easy kind of 7-step process, which is around kind of knowing what you're sitting on, how to approach a partner, how to construct a deal, how to over deliver on that deal and exceed their expectations. Then how to, wrap it all up and actually create a success pack so that partner can realize what a great decision they made in doing a partnership with you. And then how to use that as your next case study to actually get your next partnership. So it's a great brand. It's a great for brands to actually know what they've got to offer and be really confident and clear on what they would love to do with other brands. And so it's a really simple book. It is published by KMD Books and it will be out in January. And if you are interested in getting a book, if you go to my website, which is theresetarleton.com, there's no G. And actually just there's a page on that website and you can just tick, want to know more about the book. And I will make sure that you are one of the first people to know when it is available for pre-sale.
Awesome. Thanks, Therese. It's been very insightful talking to you today. Our head of marketing in the Philippines even sent me a message in between. I saw it come up going, Therese has given me some great ideas for the business. So thank you. Really, really practical advice. And yeah, can't wait to start implementing it, some of it ourselves. So if you're interested in Therese's book, feel free to go to her website. Thanks for speaking with us today, Therese.
Oh, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye. So if you'd like to see more interviews with amazing business owners sharing extraordinary insights, click subscribe, then click the bell button, then click all, and we'll notify you.